Okay, so some time has passed since this massive event happened in my life, and I kind of just want to go on a rant and talk about this, and let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below about this entire thing, because this is insane. So this may be a little bit of a longer video, just buckle up and bear with me. But before we get into the actual story, let me give you a little bit of pre-history to understand a little bit more about what I'm going to be talking about. So I'm currently in a relationship with my girlfriend. You guys know her, Mrs. Meech. You've probably seen her on my Twitch or my TikTok. She fully supports my endeavors on the glorious path of becoming a content creator, and we have a little one. I'm kind of in a step parent type of role, but there is no dad in a sense, you know.
Oh, and no milk.
The little baby Meech calls me dad and all that jazz, you know what I mean? So there's no, you know, there's no competition or anything like that. You know, we're not blood related, but we still have that father-daughter bond, you know what I mean? That's a little knowledge before we actually get into this. Before I actually started working at the establishment I'm going to be talking about, I actually worked with my mom, and this is before I met Mrs. Me. And if you didn't know, now you guys will know. We actually met on the dating app Hinge, and at first it was just kind of like a one-night thing, you know, that type of thing. But, you know, she was going through a lot of stuff, and I was kind of one of the only people to really, you know, be like, hey, if you need to talk, just let me know. And it quickly grew into this really amazing relationship that I can safely say is one of the best moments of my life. We quickly got into a relationship, and there was a situation where I didn't have a car, but I had a license, and I was using my parents' car, and they were worried about, I was looking for a job because me and my mom weren't really working out anymore. We're fine, our relationship is great. It was just more so we were trying to find a balance between mom and son, and basically her being my boss. And you could just tell it was beginning of the end. And so I was looking for places. I was just looking for jobs. And Mrs. Meech was actually friends with the boss that was there. And the boss was like, hey, we really, really need people. And Mrs. Meech was pretty much like, oh, hey, my boyfriend is in this field. Maybe you could use him. I applied, but I didn't get an interview. I didn't get anything. They were like, you are hired. You are going to stick you in a room. When I mean in a room, basically I have my own classroom. I kind of just got thrown in there, and I got quote unquote trained by like a 17-year-old. Love, like, hold up. Wait a minute. FBI, open up. Consider her a friend. She's really nice. She's 19 now. She's in college. But this is also before she went off to college, and so when she left, I was by myself. And they're also trying to look for another teacher to be with me, and it took them about 7-8 months, which is insane if you really think about it. But their excuse was they were trying to be picky. Understandable. You don't want to just throw anybody in a room with a whole bunch of kids, especially if they don't know what they're doing. It's understandable. But 7-8 months is kind of insane. And I was getting increasingly frustrated, but I was also finding my groove, being by myself and, you know, having all these kids to take care of. And all the parents genuinely love me. I have a whole bunch of proof of this. Some more context. Originally I was supposed to be in pre-K, which is right before kindergarten, but they put me in preschool. So as I'm going through the months, they finally found somebody, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And we were getting along for the next like 2 months. Everything was doing pretty good. We were trying to find a groove because we both had different styles. And then all of a sudden the boss comes up, was like, and basically tells her, hey, we're not happy with how things are going, and it doesn't seem like you and Dimitri are getting along. And she came to me and told this, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she looked at me like, what is she talking about? Mind you, this new co-teacher and the boss are like best of friends. And so we were like, what the fuck is she talking about? We were so confused. Mind you, they have 2 locations. One is literally up the street from the one I'm at. So they were like, hey, a pre-K position opened up at the other location. Would you be interested in going there? And throughout my time at that particular location I'm talking about, before I moved to the other one, things were generally okay. You know, there was a lot of, it didn't really seem like the boss and even the owner really knew how to run it, despite being in this field for like 30 plus years and owning these 2 establishments for like 20 odd something years. There was like, you could tell that something was like, some shady stuff was going on. Now, of course, at a whole bunch of schools or daycares, there's always going to be favorites. It is what it is. But there was like another level to this. And I didn't really see it because I guess I was just blinded, I guess.
I ain't seen nothing. Matter of fact, I'm blind in my left eye and 43% blind in my right eye. I don't see much of nothing. As a matter of fact, I can't even see you, sir.
There was one time where everybody was getting fed up, and we're all in a text group chat, and they always keep sending these like ambiguous and honestly degrading text messages when it only applied to one person. Now, you would think as a boss, you would go to that one person and discuss it with that individual. But no, they sent a massive message degrading everybody in the establishment. Sounds terrible, right? It gets worse, trust me. Just bear with me. Now, they want me to go to the other establishment. I told them I don't really feel like I should be leaving right now, especially since, you know, graduation is coming up for preschool and pre-K. I want to be there for my kids that have been, you know, all this time. And I don't really think the parents want me to leave. I was like, if this was like a couple months later, I'd think about it. I told them no. Mind you, there's no discussion of pay increase, anything like that. They just wanted me to go in pre-K because they said it was a quote unquote better fit for me. Whatever the fuck that means. The boss of the other establishment comes in one day to S, and I'm in the gym with the kids. They're playing, you know, having a grand old time. And he comes in and talks to me and basically tries to entice me to come to the other establishment. And me and Mrs. Meach both agreed the only real difference between S and the other establishment that they had up the street was the boss. Mind you, this new boss was a dude, super chill, super awesome, super understanding, still love him to this day. And that was the only bonus. All my coworkers, we all had a great relationship. We all talked to each other. It was amazing. Loved it. This was just, it was a tough decision, but I kind of felt like I was forced to, because I can't even say I kind of felt like that, because the boss of S basically told me that you either take this position at the new establishment up the street, or you're not going to be having your room because we already found somebody to replace you and you're going to be a floater. A floater is not a full-time position, and at this point I am living with my girlfriend and the little one, so I was like, that can't happen. So I am forced to essentially go to the other establishment. Things go good for maybe about a couple weeks. You know, I'm learning pre-K schedules and whatnot and how to do things. The boss is great, but then things start to change. The new boss, we'll just call him T. T goes on a leave. He goes on a leave of absence because he just had a kid, you know, born into this world. So he went on leave with his wife, who both of them actually worked at the other establishment that I'm at. And they actually take teacher that was in the room that I was going to take over, and they were gonna make her the admin. And I'm gonna be honest, nobody really liked her. Nobody really liked her. She always kind of like followed, quote unquote, followed the rules and didn't really have any leniency when it came to her staff. If you were late like 3 minutes, yes, I understand it's 3 minutes. No matter what the excuse was, like, oh, well, you know, you could say, oh, I had a rough time getting the little one up. Oh, my car, there was traffic. Didn't matter. They were just like, you're gonna be in trouble. Like, it's just like, come on, stop acting like you got a fucking stick up your ass. Relax. Like, your job is fine. You got it, bro. Fast forward, I get treated very, very differently, and to the point where I don't feel like going to work. It was terrible. Like, I got very, 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 very mistreated. And like I said, I'm not the biological father of baby Meech, and they know about the situation. And so what was the last straw for me? They would treat me like baby Meech's dad when it was convenient for them. They would pick and choose when they wanted me to be dad, essentially, and I would get talked about behind my back, called names, treated me very, very differently from others. Like, it's to the point where, like, I can see them actively treating me different, like, in front of my own eyes. Now, I'm not over here gonna say I'm the best Samaritan ever. Now, obviously, I would get in trouble from time to time, but not like crazy. It was like 1, maybe 2 times, and then they would tell me, hey, don't do that, please fix this, and I would fix it. It got to a point where they were trying to gaslight me into saying that I'm not a good teacher, but that's a whole nother thing. But what was the last straw was there's this event called Donuts with Dads, where, you know, dads can go hang out with their kid before Father's Day. I already told them right before Mother's Day that I was going to do this at the other establishment where baby Meech was. They're like, sure, awesome, thank you for letting me know. The day before, my boss comes into my room and says, hey, can we step into the other room so I can talk to you? I was like, yeah, sure. She's like, yeah, so you can't go to Donuts with Dads. I was like, what? What do you mean? She's like, yeah, we're understaffed and we need you. I was like, that's not my problem. You told me I could go. Like, that's not, no. And they're like, yeah, we need you here, and basically like threatened to fire me, which was awesome. And I'm not even kidding you, I sat there and cried for like 15 minutes because they told me I couldn't go. And obviously there's a whole bunch of other emotions mixed into it, as far as being told that you know, you're not dad and stuff like that. Fast forward, before I quit, I was very much contemplating of of whether or not to quit or not, because I didn't want Baby Meech to take the brunt end of it because I quit, especially since it was such a toxic work environment for me, to the point where I didn't want to go to work and I was crying every time I came home, and I was just so mad. So I talked it over with Mrs. Meech. We both agreed this is the right course of action. I didn't give it 2 weeks because I felt like if I gave them the 2 weeks, they would have fired me anyways, especially since, you know, they were already mistreating me and threatening to fire me anyways for bullshit stuff that didn't make any sense, and that I could disprove. But anyways, so I end up quitting, and they actually terminated Baby Meech from the daycare, which, mind you, is illegal. They cannot do that. Owner of the establishment was basically saying how I'm unprofessional, that what I'm doing is illegal. Mind you, if you're a Massachusetts employee, you can quit at will. I believe it's the at will employer, some shit like that, meaning like the employer can terminate your contract or job, whatever it is, at will, but also you get to leave at will, which means you can basically leave whenever you want. And that's what I did. And they were basically saying, hey, you're never gonna find a job because outside of working with your mom, we're your only place and we're not gonna give you a recommendation. Now that's also illegal. So now this is 2 illegal things that they did. And so when I got to my new job and they're like, hey, we need some references, and I obviously had some other people that I could contact, but they're also like, what happened with S? And I was like, well, this is what happened. And I basically just told them everything that I'm telling you, and they were just disgusted. They were like, this isn't the first time we heard about this, because we've had people from that establishment work over here. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I love it. And I'm still working with that company today. Not the one I left, but this new one. And I just honestly wanted to rant about it because it is such a shitty situation. But it was one of the biggest lows, but for not only me, but Baby Meech and Mrs. Meech. So I'm just really glad we can get past it. You know what I mean? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to rant about it and do a little story time. If you want any more stories, please let me know down in the comment section below. And I'm gonna get up out of here. I love y'all, and I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video. Okay, bye. Don't do drugs. Please, don't be Diddy. Bye.